Hey, this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and I'm going to try to demonstrate a trade here. I might have missed it. Afraid I probably missed it. See if we can get filled here. But the original entry was right there. I'm probably being a little greedy here. I'm trying to get filled one tick further back, and I'm probably just being a little too greedy there. Let's go to our original fill spot and see if we can get filled right there. There we go. Now we're filled. And let me explain to you why I like this trade. We got this little trend that's been we're in a trading range today. This is a trading range. So here's your lows and here's your highs up here. And we're coming off the low and we're headed back to the high. The odds are very high that we're going back to the top. We had a little channel working up here, but we broke it and we made a new low, and we tested that twice and failed both times and have turned up. So now I feel confident we're going to at least test these highs, and we're probably going to go up here and test these highs before the close of the day. It's about 1:30 in the afternoon, so it's a little late. I usually don't trade this late, but I was getting ready to do the chart lesson for today, and this set up, and I thought, well, you might as well go ahead and show this trade. And again, we're coming off the low of the trading range, and we're trending back to the high side, and we got a nice little failed second entry short here, and that triggered a second entry long off this low right here. And the odds are really strong that we're at least going to test this high, but my guess is we'll probably go all the way up here and test this one. We'll see, and we'll see if we can't make a little money. I'm going to scalp out our 8 contracts right here before we get to this high. And if I'm going to hold a runner on 2 of them in case we go all the way to the top. So that's where we stand. Let me back out of here, and while we're waiting on this trade to follow through, I don't want to lose. And of course we got our 2-point stop, which is 1 tick below this. This is actually our signal bar right here, but generally it's better to get below the low. We'll see if this was to turn down again, and we could get stuck in a range. It's been just a really slow, methodical day. There's no conviction on either side, and that's the result. You see this trading range with these really tight and slow moving, choppy moves, and there's just not a lot happening. And that's, there's no other way to describe it other than that. But let me show you the trades that have set up so far. Again, I'm going to keep a close eye on this trade over here. But I would like to, while we're waiting on that trade to follow through, I'll show you some of the other trades today. We had this trend line coming up right through here, and we opened in here somewhere. There was a short up here. I didn't mark it because there were so many overlapping bars that it really was a questionable type entry, so I didn't really mark it. But it would have been a good setup. But of course, the best entries are the pullbacks to the EMA or the trend line. And we got this set up here at the trend line, and notice we ticked lower first, this one little tick lower, and then turned up. And so we had a short trap here right at the trend line, and so I wanted to go short right above that, and I got triggered right there. And there was another little pullback, but again, that's just a trap, another trap, and it created a second entry long. This was only good for a scalp, but it was an easy scalp, and again, you're getting long off the trend line here. Then we finally broke the trend line right here. We really were now kind of in this probably what I'd call a 3-point trading range, and so we spent quite a bit of time in this 3-point trading range. But again, we had this double bottom across here, and we broke lower and failed and turned up. So going long right here or either above the red bar, because it's kind of a little double trap, was a good place to get long. with the idea that we're at least going back to test the high and probably make a new high, and that's exactly what we did. We made a new high, and that was good enough after the trend line break to turn this trend back down, and it really turned out to not to be a trend day. It turned out to be a range day for the most part. So it looks like we might have got trapped over here. Still, everything's still above the EMA. Nothing. Look, notice how nothing's closed below that EMA. That's a good sign. We'll see what happens. On a day like this, anything's possible. This double top here, the lower spot, is similar to this setup right here, and this could be a repeat pattern. But the fact that nothing has been able to close below that EMA is somewhat bullish in my opinion, but with just nobody willing to really commit to either side of the market today, anything's a possibility. So we'll see how this one goes. We'll see how this bar closes. If this bar closes down, we may change things here. But anyway, you made your run to the new top, and of course there's a short there. We broke higher and turned down, and there's really a second entry short below that bar right there. There's your signal bar, and it was a nice easy scalp. Again, no runners, and there hadn't been many runners at all today. You got one here. There was really a setup here, but this was really bullish, and a lot of times you'll make two legs to a new high. So we really it was better to skip this trade and wait on this next setup. When we made this lower double top here where I originally kind of had my line across here, that was a great sign that we were probably going at least down to the lows again. And this is why we hold runners, because you never know. And you see how this one, you could have ridden this one from about 50, I'd say 54.50, depending on where you exited, all the way down to 46.50 or so. So it was that's really the best move of the day. And the thoughts were we're probably coming down here to test these lows, and so I was looking to get long when we got down there, and that's the reason for the longs there. But there was also a short right here. You had this little double top. You kind of went into this trading range, and we broke one tick higher and trapped everybody. So then you figure you're going down to test this low and probably this low, and sure enough, that was a nice, quick, and easy scalp. And like I said, I was looking to buy this all along because this is a little double bottom during the overnight, and you're going to get a bounce there. You don't know how strong it's going to be. But there were two opportunities to buy that. This one, which was the first move down, and you can see that's exactly where it bounced. So when you made this little bar right here and it ticked lower and turned up, you could go long right there, and that's where it caught. That's where it got triggered, and that was an easy move up. And then it came down here and tested it again, created a double bottom, reversed, and went back up. And you figure you're probably coming back up to test this high and maybe this high. And you might get lucky and catch the low and come all the way back to the high. So this was another long. Of course, all you got was your scalp out of it, no runners. But that's why we scalp out. And you see our trade's looking really good over here. Let's go back to our trade. Watch it for this moment. And you can see there's just no real commitment to anything right now. I mean, it's struggling even to go higher here, struggling to go lower. But the fact that nothing ever closed below that EMA and it's still pointing up, is somewhat of a positive to me. Well, I thought we were going to get to go ahead and watch this. Here we go. Maybe we will get to watch this. Come on, buyers. A couple more. Catch a couple of stops there and run it up. I'm sure there's a lot of people that got short in here, and so maybe we'll catch some stops here. So, but we had a little double top here, so it's not unreasonable that we're getting resistance here. I would expect that we're at least going to come up here and test these highs, but I really think we're probably coming to test these highs. And we had this upward trend, so it wouldn't surprise me if we don't go on to make new highs today too. But as slow and methodical as it's been, we may stall. We may stall here or here. But sometimes you get a nice run late in the day, and we're getting close to 2 o'clock. So I would really love to scalp out of this and and let these runners survive and get a nice run back to the high here and make a little more money today. Get some gravy here. What I call gravy, anything above my normal profit goal, which I hit early this morning, is what I call gravy. So, but we'll love to put some on today. Come on, buyers. They're buying it. They're not just jumping all over it, but there's some buying going on. Come on, buyers. Well, while we're waiting on that to do something, I believe we stopped off with this trade, so we'll pick up right here. And it's just another double top, and you should have drawn your little channel line right across here, and you see we did have a little channel going on. And this was another pretty good move. You know, for the day it was a good move. I wouldn't call it a good move in most cases, but for today it was a pretty good move. And again, no runners, but you should have been thinking exiting back down in here anyway. And there was really a long opportunity right here as well, but I didn't mark it because there's just too many overlapping bars. Notice all the dojis. There was a good chance we could break above here and keep going lower. But that's the way they do. You know, yesterday or the day before, it looked similar to this, and then it kept going. Today it didn't. And we're bouncing off our exit order. Come on, buyers. One more tick, and we may get out of it if we get lucky. But most of the time, you got to tick through a limit order, which is what I'm using. I don't exit with stop orders because you get slippage, and you'll lose a tick or two sometimes. And because I'm usually trying to exit near support or resistance. Boy, the buying just, there goes a little buying. It's really drying up again. Come on, one tick. There we go. All right, we're out of that trade. We made 8 points there. So $400, and we got our runners going. We still didn't get that last tick, and that's why my stop hasn't moved to break even. So let's go ahead and move it to break even. We don't want to give any of that back, not this late in the day. But I'd really love to catch these runners and let them exit out up here. And what I'm going to do is bring this one tick lower because I feel certain if we run up here on this move, we're still going to get a pullback. So. That's why I like the automated strategies. I've talked about that before, so I'll use this minute to talk about that again. When you use automated strategies, when your order is executed, if you have it set up for your target and your stop, they go in instantly. And so you get in early in the queue, and you see, obviously I was early in the queue there because I got out of a limit order without it ticking through. And I've noticed now that I started using these, there we go. Now that I've started using the strategies and using the automated orders, I've noticed that that happens for me quite often, a lot more than it used to, because by the time you put that order in there manually, there's probably, you know, there could be 500, 1,000, or thousands of people getting in there before you. And if there just happens to be any institutional traders placing orders about that time, you might get thousands of contracts that jump in there just prior to you getting in. And so by using automated strategies, it doesn't always work. You know, sometimes, I mean, I can tell you, I've had trades move exactly 4 ticks, bounce off my order forever, and turn down and turn into a losing trade. But that's not a good sign. If you do go have a good order that moves 4 ticks and you don't exit, that's not a good sign. Excuse me. That's not a good sign because generally your smart traders are going to push that trade on through, and if they're not able to push it on through, excuse me, I had a slight interruption there, and I'm still struggling with this cough. This crazy summer cold I've got that I brought back from Brazil is just driving me nuts. But I'm hoping we can push on up here. We've made a pretty good move. We've made a new high. There's a good chance we could pull back from here. So I'm tempted just to go ahead and take my profit here. But let's talk about, while we watch this, let's talk about this trade right here. As you can see, this is just a two-legged pullback. Let me make this a little bigger so it's easier to see. But we had this failed break lower, and then prices reversed. They got above this channel. We tested it once, we pulled up, we tested again, but more than anything, this is a two-legged pullback to the trend line. Of course, your trend line is off these first couple of bars here. We weren't sure it's a trend line yet, but there's a good chance. But either way, you got your EMA, and we all know how well two-legged pullbacks to the EMA work. And since we had a failed break lower, we're expecting prices to try to work higher here, to start testing these highs, working back to these highs right here. And you can see this pullback. Tell you what we'll do. We're going to go ahead and move it to one tick below that bar and lock in another point anyway on those two contracts. I'm tempted just to take our profits right here because I don't know if we're not going to pull back before we go higher. Maybe that's good enough for the pullback right there. Let's do this just in case. Let's give it one tick profit and two ticks below this in case you tick one tick down and get that little trap. But anyway, this is a two-legged pullback to the EMA, which is that's one of the best setups you can get, and that's a very strong leg. So you figure you're going to get another equal leg, and if you measure that leg, measure it right there, and you move it over, you can see that we got almost a perfect measured leg before you got another little correction back to the trend line, and then we shot another leg up. And then the reason we took this trade was because this was the first break of this little channel. There's your first entry. This was a second entry long right here, but by the time this set up, it was a little dangerous, and we got stopped out there. So we made 10 points. That was a quick $500 in about 15 minutes that we made there. So hopefully we've got what it is we've got these lows across here, and we made a new low. This was the first show of any kind of bullishness, so you definitely didn't want to go long until you saw some kind of little show of bullishness, even though this was if you look, there's a first entry long and then a pullback and a second entry long, but there's nothing in there but dojis and mostly bearish closing on the lows. And so there's not a real good opportunity. There's no reason to be thinking longs yet. And if you're drawing your little short-term trend lines, you probably should have had a trend line like this right here. And there's the first break of it. So now we're thinking if we get a setup to go long, we could take it. And you could have gone long right here. And as long as you kept your stop down here, you would have survived. But this doji, and there's still no real strong bar. This has got a lot of stem at the top. These have both got a lot of stem. So it's just not a really good setup on a day that's not a strong trend day. Now, if this was a strong trend day, I probably would have jumped all over entering right here and definitely would have entered here. But on a day like today, when there's no, it's just a lethargic day, and if you back out here, you can just see it. There's just nothing happening today, and it's just a big trading range day. And so even though the odds are that we're going higher here this late in the day, there's no guarantees. And on a really good strong day, I probably would have exited that other trade right up here without any problems. We probably would have shot right up to it, but not today because there's no real sense of direction. And so it was better to wait on this to test this again, which it did right here. And notice how nothing's closing below that EMA. I talked about that earlier. That was a good sign. So I wanted to go long when we got right here. And even then, it took it a little while to kind of get moving. But when this bar it worked its way all the way back down and then almost closed back up here where it opened, that was a good sign. And the fact that, again, there's no closes. The closes are getting higher and higher and higher. So that was a good sign on our part, and that was an easy scalp. And I still think we're probably going to go to here. There's a chance we may not, because now we've got a break of this trend line and a move to a new high. So there's a chance that we could sell off from here and end up back down in here somewhere. But my guess is we're going to test this before the close. We got an hour and 15 minutes to go. We'll see what happens. And but notice that the prices have just not gotten very far. And if I back out, it'll be easier to see again. Notice how prices have just not gotten very far away from the EMA all day long for the most part. There's a few extremes like here and here, but look what happened quickly. Once you start to get the overlap away from it, it snaps back. And this one didn't snap back as well as some of the other ones, but even here it snapped back, and even here it's probably going to snap back. And down here it snapped back, and it's done that all day long. And that's generally what the market does. And I watch for that, and I look for that, because it's a great setup like I demonstrated earlier in the week. Let's just leave this here for now, because this tends to be support now. But that's pretty much it for today. It's 2 o'clock now. There's not, I don't see any reason to be wanting to enter any other trades at this point. Like I said, I'm expecting that prices are going to go test these highs and maybe make a new high. We'll just have to see if that's what happens, if you want to follow prices and see. But there's also a chance we can turn down, because we got this break now and we got to move to a new high, and we got a couple of legs in there. So there's a strong chance we could just end in this range somewhere. But my guess is we'll probably go up here and test this high and maybe make a new high, but we'll see. But this is getting into 21 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up. Hopefully you enjoyed the quick trade example, buying the pullback to the EMA and buying the support area right here. And we were able to get a trade example in along with a chart lesson as well. So it was a pretty good day. And even though this was a slow, lethargic day, if you understand price action, there's no reason you can't make money. And I just showed you how to do it. And I just demonstrated to you how to do it as well, even late in the afternoon when I don't like trading this late. But it can be done. And the key is understanding price action, understanding how to read a chart. And if you need some help with that, continue to watch our videos. If you want a manual to go along with it to give you all of the tips and pointers and the rules that we follow, you can look at that at our website as well. But I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.